charter county, and so I'm hoping that it's just like we're gonna win.
And yeah, I guess
and
we
so
should
people
thank
aren't that interested in this particular stage. The opportunity to write a charter. And what's your problem with strengthening Mendocino County with a home rule charter? Do you have a problem with that? That's what that's actually what I think is the root of it.
Trust the people that have initiated this, and it's always like that. It's
well,
like,
they're looking to turn this into a left-right issue.
it's because it is.
No, it's not. A charter.
I'm not saying it is theoretically, but in this county, it's a divisive issue because this is a divided county.
Well, and this is exactly what I think.
Well, just yeah, have well.
Well, I was just relaxing.
Oh, well, I'm doing sound checks.
Oh, okay.
So
Here, I'll move up here.
Well,
Yeah,
move it back
you should move
You
that
can move
maybe
back, you don't have to
closer,
move the
Well,
chair.
he said
closer to your mouth.
he wanted it to be like this because
Yeah.
Right, just the angle.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
don't want his face blocked. I can bring it up.
Is that good?
Sure, yeah,
Too
fair
far
enough.
away.
Yeah, I will.
I
was
always
sitting
think
down.
audio and not video.
Yeah.
I'm used
Yeah,
to
where's the audio? Coming straight? Oh, wait,
when
it's right in
when
front
I'm
of
on
your
the
eyes.
radio, it's right in front of your face.
Yeah, it's different. Well, yeah, I think that it's. I told this to Els the other day. She was saying about how they spend all this money to defeat this shit, and it's like, no, it's not really about defeating an issue. It's about defeating us as a culture, as a politic. As people who want to be in charge of their own lives. It's the corporate mindset versus the individual.
But in this, but what's interesting is that
And the battles are always around elections, but that's not what the real battle is.
they want to turn this into a left-right issue, and it's simply not. I mean,
At least it's first stage.
This is first stage. Most Republicans have no problem. I mean, conservatism at its foundation, go back to the founding fathers, read the Federalist Papers, what was the idea behind the Constitution? They were arguing, most of them, not all of them, but they were arguing that the power should be located at the bottom in the county governments. And then the states had some power more directly close to
They were in
the
a
people.
rarefied world where only like 1% of the people could even be eligible to be in power. Old white men with land with land.
Well, I'm
It's
not, I'm not saying that they were perfect.
I wouldn't bring up the founding fathers as the models of democracy.
Well, I'm not
But it's
saying
just
they
telling
were
you.
perfect, but what I'm saying is that concept of federalism is not a left right if you're on the right, if you're a conservative, most conservatives believe in that.
Left right doesn't mean much anymore.
Exactly, and
It's
we
much
gotta
more of
get
a
away from
cultural
it.
divide.
But if you're appealing to the Tea Party, it's like home rule. It's the charter is very similar to a constitution for a county, and if you want to protect your rights, we the people, be in favor.
Protect your rights from who? The state.
Well, exactly, and that's a
That's right.
conservative.
So there you
notion.
go.
That's a
There's
But that's
some-
conservative. But
Some people
what
believe
do-
in the
but-
state,
But what
just
are
like they believe in
Republicans-
Monsanto, just like they used to believe the tobacco companies. They believe the
Right.
bullshit that they've been told over and over and over again.
And yet, just voting for a charter doesn't mean that we're fighting the state. Like those issues.
But you are, because you're
those-
giving yourself more power to fight the state. That's what you just said.
But there's already 14 counties in California that are doing it. And
Yeah.
actually, 2/3 of the people in California already live in charter counties.
But do any of them have a bank?
No. Yet.
Why?
Why? I would say it's been stopped for 100 years because of the major banks. In fact, there isn't one yet, but what's happening is there's over 50 cities and counties throughout the United States that are already attempting to set up a bank. Then they're in the process of creating a public bank. 40% of the nations have public banks already. 40%. The United States has 0 because who's in charge?
I thought there was one in North Dakota.
Well, North Dakota has one. That was 1919. And it was the last public bank in the United States. Interestingly enough, the grandson of the founder of that bank lives in Fort Bragg.
Really?
Really, that's cool. But again, this is a total side issue. This is
Right.
not Measure W. There's nothing in Measure W about a public bank, and there's definitely not for sure that a public bank will
It might not
eventually
even be in
in
it.
the charter.
Yeah.
There's
So
The-
is there any other issue that's a hot button issue besides the bank? That these
See,
guys
that's
are-
what's ironic to me is that I don't think anybody disagrees with being a charter county. I haven't heard any disagreements. The only viable disagreement that I've heard is that the possibility that the charter commission could force a special election
Yeah, it costs
on a
money.
date that would cost extra money. And that's only if the charter. And again, as an individual running for charter commission, I'm advocating that we target date the November 2017 election, and it shouldn't cost the county a dime. I don't.
It would cost the same as any other election.
I don't think that
It'd be
that
tagged
the
on.
majority of the charter commission are going to think that spending an extra $150,000 forcing the county to have an election that they're not already having is something that people are going to advocate for. And
I
most
wouldn't
of
want
the
it.
charter commissioners that I've talked to are pretty much feel like it's going to take at least a year. That this process is going to be fairly long, because there are a lot of specific issues that individual charter commissioners would like to see in the charter. Maybe, maybe not. But most of the charter commissioners all agree, from what I've seen, that this should be a very participatory process. We want to hear from everyone. We want to try to hear from everybody in the county, individuals and stakeholder groups, find out what
but in
they'd
the
like
final
to see.
analysis, you hear from 99% of the people. 11 people are going to filter that and write it out, or 15 people.
Sure. And
And,
that's why, and that's
do
what
they
it's
have to
about right
agree?
now.
Those 15 people, do they vote within themselves on what, there's going to be divisions, I assume, within that group of 15. and like you say, they could have maybe 3 charters to vote on, or they could have this is the minority report, or
Yeah.
it's like it comes out of the commission with 8 to 7.
Theoretically, we could decide. the first.
How does that work?
We've had this
the
conversation
internal democracy of the commission.
among some of us. That it may take us 3 or 4 months just to come up with the answer to that question.
Protocols, yeah.
Yeah. How are we going to make choices? Do we want to run a majority? Do we want to run 2/3? Do we want to
So
try
none
to
of
find
that's
consensus?
proscribed ahead of time.
No.
Because we don't have a commission.
Yeah.
But the commission sets its own.
But you have to have a commission
Thing.
first.
Yeah.
It's an empty box. It's an empty framework.
It's
and
the tabula rasa. Yeah, the white.
It's
The
empty.
white slate.
It's nothing's
I
on
could
there.
see why some people would be scared of that.
I think actually what you're saying is that's exactly what it is. It's fear. People they're afraid to see what could happen, and that's why the caveat is whatever we do and whatever comes out of the commission, well, then we have something concrete that people can vote on. So Measure W is not about do you want this or do you not want this. What it's about is will you give the commission a chance? If you don't like what the commission comes up with, you'll have the opportunity to vote it down later on down the line during this stage 2 of the process.
So really, people are going to be voting for 15 people, and that's huge compared to most other elections. Oh my God!
Yeah, yeah.
It's like most people, myself included, when I get a ballot in the past and I get to a situation where I don't know any of these people for whatever reason, I haven't researched it, I don't vote
Yeah.
on that part. So it seems key to me that people have to like the individuals who are running and trust them to do a good thing.
Right. I mean, we do
It
have.
could be as much as whether you're photogenic.
Right.
And I mean,
Sure.
That-
I mean,
So-
the message is not as important in the messenger in this case in terms of winning the vote, I think.
I was really happy that we got Els Cooperrider on board because she's worked with consensus groups and groups doing political action for a long time. I was really happy that Steve Scalaminini
Mayor of
is the mayor of Ukiah, joined our
Ukiah.
group.
Oh, really?
Because
So he's gonna be a
has
candidate?
experience. Yeah, he's a candidate.
So existing politicians could be on this commission also.
as long as there's not a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And that's Norm Duvall is running.
How
Norm
could
Duvall
there
is
be a
running.
conflict of interest to be on the commission? Who could have a conflict of interest?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's just a question.
That's the
come
only
up.
stipulation is that
Yeah,
you can't
but
be
you can't.
involved in 2 offices at the same time if you can show that there's a conflict of interest.
And it may not be, but that's just a question that comes up, and each individual would have to, explore
Steve's looking into that, and he hasn't found any potential conflict that he has, but it is
Okay,
it
yeah.
is
So you
stipulated.
just got to check it out.
Yeah,
that, just to make sure it, isn't. Unlike some of the, the senators and whatever that are getting money from corporations.
So you guys got a nice poster with everybody's picture on it?
I submitted mine. I don't know
Are there
if mine's
pictures
up
on the
there.
ballot
On
or just
on the
names?
Facebook.
No, on the
The ballot
Facebook
doesn't have
page and
pictures, does
on
it?
the
No.
website. Yeah, and I think only 4 of us actually went ahead and submitted bios because it cost $700.
For a volunteer position.
Yeah, yeah. So the price was prohibitive.
For most.
So some of the 15 will have something and some won't.
I think the charter project, I think in our, I'm actually at least going to advocate that the charter project potentially choose the 15 people that we are going to back and then have the list of names on our print ads and during May, during the campaign, just to promote the ones that we recommend. But, that is challenging. It's going to be difficult for people to find out more information than what we've put up on the website. And you'll just have to, I'm hoping that whatever, I had a radio show, I've been out, and I hope people recognize my name, and people like Els and Steve and the rest of us have, done what we've done. But it is an interesting quandary when you're trying to run a campaign for 15 different people.
Yeah. Whoa.
And how to get that information out there. And the charter project has its hands full with just trying to get people to be on board with the concept of being chartered. We we tried to get the word out to get as many people to run as possible. We ended up getting 17 out of 15. So part of it is
Where's the 15 number come from?
that's out of the Constitution, the state Constitution. Part of it is just that we have to have some trust in the process and then know that come November 2017 or whenever the charter commission, you're going to have a concrete charter to vote up or down at that point. So, that's the question. Measure
What if it
W
gets
is about
voted down? Does the charter
giving us a
commission
chance.
cease to exist then?
That's a question that we're looking into.
Or does this just keep coming again, rolling over?
I think that what happens is that, and we're going to ask the guy, I'm definitely going to ask the guy on next Tuesday at the Board of Supervisors meeting, because he's coming in to advise them, and he's going to advise us as well. I mean, we're kind of working together, I like to think. And the question is, does the whole thing just go away? It doesn't appear so. It appears that once the people vote for a charter county, that they want to be a charter county. So we're going to have to come up with a charter that the people want. If they vote it down, it appears right now that the question is, the Board of Supervisors may have an opportunity to just put forth their own charter at that point and bypass the Charter Commission. The Charter Commission may, because I think that what my interpretation currently from everything I've been able to read is that you have a charter, you submit the charter, it gets voted down, then you're under the rules of how do you revise a charter. So you could have a petition again. There could be a group that says that Charter Commission didn't work. We're gonna,
a new charter commission.
We're gonna get a new Charter Commission.
Just start over the whole process.
The Board of Supervisors, I think, could put it on the ballot to have a new Charter Commission if they chose. The Board of
So the
Supervisors.
same commission would be tasked to
I'm not
rewrite
sure.
the
Maybe the same commission could revise the charter and put it out. That's a question.
It sounds
we have
like,
to ask.
it's like, whoa, this is like.
And what's interesting to me is, I guess it's never happened. I mean, the 14 other charter counties, their charters have always just been passed.
I think was it San Diego that took a while?
Huh.
They didn't have theirs. May have to check with San Diego, but I thought it was San Diego that took a while, took a couple of years.
They had to rewrite the commission, the charter itself.
But I don't know the process. Did they get a new commission? Did they, have to, what was the process getting there? But from my understanding, it took a while for them to get a charter accepted. So
One of the potential possibilities.
Hey, we going to get any Agnes coming?
I haven't been able to get in touch
we
with
may
her.
have to start without her.
I just reframed without her.
Yeah, it's 11. It's 12.
Let's go.
Let's go for it.
Are we at that point?
Yeah, it's noon. So if you're wanting to be live,
Yeah, well, yeah.
and I definitely told her
Is my hair
between
okay?
11
I
and noon.
don't have a mirror in front. Is it all right?
You got my vote.
Okay, I got one. That's all that counts. I got yours.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking over Mendocino naturally. That was great. But I got.
Well, I'm in a default position
Thanks,
here.
Terry.
Oh, you had to. Oh, sorry about that. Well, you can create your own. I just made that.
Uh-oh, the boss is gone. Now we got to
Okay, now we can
get
talk.
our shit.
Oh no, it's live.
No swearing. He's going to talk on that.
This is how we talk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
I'm getting ready to go live right now, but not the show itself, so just hold on. I just pulled the telephone onto this floor right next to me. I'll be setting you down. Be right back.
Just a question. What if Agnes shows up? Oh, I got cut off.
I don't know
She
if
just
he-
walks in?
I don't know if he can hear us. Or
Yeah, I
what.
think she might be she might be too late. I mean, if Terry wants her to walk in and interrupt.
That'll be up to. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to.
She
feel
knows
it.
where the place is, right?
I'm pretty sure I told her.
Okay. And you told her 11.
Yeah, it does seem to me like she may have said she was going to be closer to 12, but I mean, it is what it is.
Well, it is
Yeah.
what it is. Hey.
Talk to the audience.
Keith Weiner.
Hello, this is Skip Tawby with Mendocino TV on Mendocino Naturally with my guest, Doug McKenty and Keith Weiner talking about Measure W on the ballot coming up. But before we get started, I just got to give a shout out to Terry Vaughn here at Mendocino TV, who's created this incredible studio, which you can now rent if you'd like to create your own show. It has everything you need: 4 cameras, total sound, green screen, blue screen. He's done an incredible job to create a TV studio right here in Fort Bragg, and we're using it today for the first time. So we're working out the kinks, and I hope it all goes well. Measure W, to create a county charter commission, will be on the ballot in June. And today we have a couple people who are going to tell us what that is, and we're going to ask them some questions. Usually we have a call in, but the phone isn't working today. But in the future, call us in and ask your questions. All right, let's switch it over to Doug. Would you introduce Measure W to the general public?
Sure. So my name is Doug McKenty, and I am running as one of 15 potential charter commissioners. There are 17 on the ballot. The 15 that get the most votes will form a commission. And this is all that Measure W is saying. Do you want to be a charter county, and who are the 15 people that you would like to vote for who will then write the charter? And I want to be really specific here that after the Charter Commission writes the charter, then that charter in a later election will be voted on by the people. So all we're asking for right now is that you give us a chance to write a charter. After the charter is written, you still have an opportunity to vote the specific issues in the charter up or down. So we're just trying to open the door here for this possibility. Now, what a charter is like a mini constitution for the county of Mendocino, and what it does is it creates a legal individual, much like a corporate charter. So Mendocino County will become a legal individual rather than currently it's a general law county, which makes it a subset of the state of California legally. And all this does is allow Mendocino legally the rights that are given to other legal individuals. And legally, it puts us as a county government, as an institution, equal to other state or corporate actors that we're negotiating with. So instead of being a subset of California when we're negotiating with outside actors, outside entities, we're going to be our own county of Mendocino legally.
So it doesn't really change how the county operates. We still have a board of supervisors. We're still organized the same as a county, or it doesn't. Is that kind of a premature question?
Well, I mean, that's just it. So this is stage one. Would you like to have the benefits of home rule? What it's doing is it's strengthening legally the county of Mendocino in the choices that it makes, that we make as a democracy here in Mendocino. We have as much power as the California Constitution allows. Now, once the Charter Commission is elected, then we go into stage 2. We do have a lot of leeway as to what the Charter Commission could write into the charter. And this is after Measure W passes. We could make radical changes, or the commission may decide to keep things exactly as they are now, except on paper shift the county from a general law county to a charter county. And the spectrum could be broad, and will probably be somewhere in between. We'll probably make a few changes. We probably won't make radical changes that would be really controversial. The idea that most of the charter commissioners, people who are running that I've spoken to, is we really want to turn this into an exercise in participatory democracy, so that the commission will go out, we'll have lots of conversations with the public, and we'll have lots of conversations with other stakeholder organizations within the county. We'll find out what people want, and we'll make a charter that will pass after stage 2 is done. So here in stage 1, we're just asking you to say, yes, we want Mendocino County to have all of the benefits of a home rule county, strengthening our county choices, the choices our county government makes, as much as is allowed in the California Constitution. And we're going to give these 15 people the opportunity to figure out what changes, if any, we may want to see in the way that this county is governed.
And those 15 people don't decide whether the charter gets enacted. They propose the charter to the people. We get to vote on it again.
Exactly.
So we vote for 15 people to create a charter after they've listened to what input we can give them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they propose a charter to the people of Mendocino to vote on.
Right.
And if we vote for that charter, then we're a charter county.
Yeah. So this is what I want to be very clear about, is this is just the stage one. We're asking for the opportunity to write a charter. The charter itself may not be very controversial. It may keep things very similar to the way they are now. All it would do is give the choices that the people of Mendocino County have already made more strength in negotiating with the state and other corporations that come in that we have to deal with just for day-to-day business. And then the people will be able to vote on the charter after stage two. So we look at it as a two-stage process. This is stage one. Just give us a chance to write the charter, see what issues may or may not come up.
Okay.
And then after stage two, the people will get a chance to vote yes or no on the specific issues written in a specific charter.
Let's get personal with Keith. Keith, why should we trust you as somebody who wants to be on this charter commission to come up with a charter for us to vote on?
As a resident of Mendocino County for 40 years, I feel that I have an idea of what's going on, and I can see the larger picture that there's a lot of things that are being done to different counties and throughout the area that might be considered that not necessarily the way Mendocino County would like to go. And I think what Mendocino County would like, or I would feel that it would like home rule and more input to the way it wants to go in the future. Where does it want to go in the future? Does it want to be directed by outside influences, or do we, the people of Mendocino County, want to have some decision-making process on where we are going for that future?
So how does this differ, say, from the current initiative process? If we want to change the law, we can change the law if we need to, but how does a charter county change that process?
Basically, the initiative process where people gather signatures on petitions, that will stay the same. That's not a change.
Okay.
But what would happen if you pass a law or pass an ordinance or measure, such as Measure S, banning fracking in Mendocino County, which was passed with a majority of votes, that is not protected. A measure can be overturned by the state as it wants, so it's not protected. But if those regulations or those provisions are embedded in a charter, the only way it could change is by the vote of the people through the ballot box. So it's more protected. It's like a charter can become like a constitution. It can give more protection, but it can also give the direction toward the future.
I understand, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is, and since we don't have all the candidates for this commission here today, that's a lot of people to vote for when you go to the ballot. And most people aren't even going to know who these 15 people are. So I'm wondering if you could describe a little bit about the composition of the candidates. You know, do they represent geographically the whole county? Who do they represent? And how did they become candidates for this election?
Basically, it does represent the area. There's representatives from Ukiah, there's Inland, there's Fort Bragg, Mendocino. So they're all over. Willits, there's represented geographically, there's representation from the whole area of Mendocino County. And there's a diverse group. We have people that are politicians, educators. Norm Duvall, who was a former supervisor. Scalini, who's mayor of Ukiah, is one of the candidates. and Alice Cooperrider is also on there. Some people might know her from various.
So do you think it's a very diverse group in terms of culturally, politically, whatever?
Well, basically, the way it was put out there, it's all volunteer. No one is getting paid for this position.
Okay.
So it was put out. Those who wanted to, join in on that movement were welcome. No one was excluded, and they were all welcome. So those who joined were those who wanted to do it for this.
So we get to vote for 15 candidates, and there's what, maybe 17 or 18 are actually going to be running?
There might be 17, as far as I know, on the.
So that
17.
whoever, the 15 people that get the most votes are elected.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the percentage or anything.
The top 15.
Okay.
And Doug, you may want to add something to that, or.
Well, that's about right. I mean, I think most of the people on the commission who are running are independent. We have at least one conservative or libertarian mind as well. I don't think it's a real left-right issue. The concept of strengthening your community's democracy, the notion they call home rule in the California Constitution, I don't see it as a left-right issue. The way that we've been trying to frame it from the charter project point of view is, do you want a one-size-fits-all county government, which is the one that the California Constitution just gives to, as a blank, kind of a blanket organizational structure, this general law county to every county in California, or do you want a custom fit county government, local government that works well for the particularities of Mendocino County? That's what the real question is about for Measure W. I mean, do we get this custom fit government that is then also empowered with this charter legally to then enforce, again, in negotiations with other states or other corporate actors that may come in and negotiate with the state as our own legal individual? So not only do you get this customization of our local government according to the will of the people who live here, but you also get that custom fit strengthened to the maximum amount allowed by the California Constitution in terms of the leverage that we get legally in this potential negotiation.
So on the surface of it, it does sound like who could be against this? But today, letter from the editor, from the Employers Council of Mendocino County. They're looking ahead about what might be in this charter beyond electing the charter commission. And they're raising certain kind of concerns and fears. I'd like to just ask you to respond to a couple. We're going to read a quote. They've decided to actively oppose this charter project. And they say it is that it is clear the group's main motivation behind forming a charter county is to start a public bank utilizing county treasury funds to finance the startup of the bank and invest in low-interest loans that will purportedly benefit the citizens of Mendocino County. They say, again, quote unquote, it is illegal to use county treasury funds in the manner in which the charter project of Mendocino County has illustrated. So that's just their first claim. We'll get into the rest of the letter, but they don't substantiate their claim that it's illegal to use treasury funds, but they do bring up a good question about, well, what if this charter commission proposes part of the charter includes a public bank? They, for some reason, are very opposed to that concept, it appears. How do you answer that kind of concern?
So this has been a very complicated campaign to try to wage from the point of view of the charter project, because not only do we have Measure W, which is only about, do you want to be a home rule county? Do you want to be a charter county? And then we have candidates that are running as individuals for the charter commission. What the Employers Council in this article got confused about was that some of the issues raised by a few of the charter candidates as issues important to them, they got confused that that's what Measure W is about. So some of the charter candidates have come out in favor of adding and including a public bank in the charter. But these are questions that the entire charter commission This is what we call stage 2. After Measure W is passed, after we've solidified who the 15 members of the commission are going to be, then those 15 people are going to have to get together and discuss, and this is stage 2. What specific issues may or may not end up in the actual charter. And again, the people are going to be able to vote on the actual charter after stage 2 is complete, at the end of stage 2. So if a specific issue like the public bank does get into that charter, then the time for that debate is at the end of stage 2.
Well, these guys are trying to pull the rug out from under you before you get to stage 2.
Well,
it
it's
sounds
just a
like.
confusion about the process, and we take as much responsibility for that because we've had to learn how to really clarify the messaging here, which is that this is a process, and it needs to be a long process that involves as many people, not just the 15 charter commissioners, but once the charter commission gets together, figures out how we're going to make decisions, how what issues may or may not be included in the charter, then, like for example, if an issue as large, complicated, potentially abstract as the public bank, if the entire commission starts to think about putting that, and this again is in stage 2, into the actual charter, well, we have a lot of, that's going to require, a business plan and talking to a committee that of bankers, that really know about banking. So that's why we shouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
Well, you may not want the conversation right now, but the conversation is happening.
Well, again, they're confused about the process.
I don't think they're confused.
I'm not sure. I mean,
that's my personal opinion. I think this is pretty typical kind of an approach from the Employers Council in my experience. They say a couple other things, and maybe Keith could answer some of the other concerns.
But I'd like to say first
go
that
ahead.
Measure W only asks, shall a commission be elected to propose a charter in Mendocino County charter? It has nothing to do with, there's nothing in it. It's like an empty box. There's nothing in it. But they can bring up the potential, but that's not Measure W. And
Well,
that's coming up, that might come up later,
Yeah.
but it might not. It might be part of the charter, it might not. So, just to address that issue, that's a second phase, and whatever goes into the charter must be approved by the voters. So, but that's not Measure W.
No,
Measure
but,
W is
the
just
Employers Council, they're
Right.
for whatever reason, they're making
Right.
their arguments out here.
Absolutely.
There are other
Skip, I want to be a little bit clear about this. I truly feel like the Employers Council, once our messaging becomes more clear, I think they'll vote for a charter county. I don't understand why they wouldn't. They're empowering.
I can only speculate on why they would.
They're empowering their own people and everybody in Mendocino County by voting yes for home rule. And
Maybe that's what they don't want us to. They don't want to empower the people to make a decision about things like whether to form a public bank or not. That's something that I think they're afraid of. And they may change as they see the future developing before their very eyes. But like you say, it's going to take some very strong education, and some real facts about, having a business plan. But like you say, that's stage 2.
Mhm,
Stage
I want to
two,
get
right.
back to some of their other complaints.
Yeah.
Because I would hope that they might come out and change their position if you guys can clarify it. They're talking about
Exactly.
the most important reason, quote unquote, to not support developing a charter commission and forming a charter county is the cost. The county's general fund would have to pay for all costs associated with forming and managing a charter commission. Then they get into the cost of special elections, et cetera, et cetera. So they're coming out, pretending to be wanting to save some money is the reason that they're opposing this. Is this going to cost the county money to have a charter commission, to have this election, to have these volunteer charter commissioners write a proposed charter?
The Charter Commission itself is unpaid. They're all volunteers. So there's no cost in that department. And as far as a special election, a charter election can be either a special election or a general election. And I would assume, and I can confirm this too, that most of the commissioners would not want that extra expense and would have it on a general election time when they're having elections anyway. So as far as that comment, it's going to cost $150,000 $100,000 or $100,000 more. That's not true. It'll cost as much as a regular election anyway. It would not be an added expense to that.
So this isn't going to cost the county any staff time or money to pay the commissioners because they're volunteers?
The commissioners are volunteers.
And the commission has no source of revenue of its own other than contributions?
At this point, and that may change, but at this point, that's
Yeah, I mean, my feeling about the operation of the commission is that we would ask the county to give us a room somewhere to hold meetings. And then I think that we would be utilizing county council as a legal advisor, but county council, that's their job. They're already getting paid. So the process really shouldn't cost any money. I do want to be clear, the California Constitution states that when the Charter Commission submits the finished charter to the county, to the Board of Supervisors, then the county has 88 days to hold the election to pass the charter. So it is a potential possibility that the Charter Commission could decide to do this at an irregular time, and the county would be obligated to hold a special election. Now, I think as Keith and I agree, and many of the charter commissioners agree, that our goal currently in our conversations that I've had so far with the potential charter commissioners is the November 2017 ballot. So we'd like to be able to submit the completed charter in August of 2017. That would give the county the 88 days before the November election, which they're already going to hold. That's a regularly scheduled election, and they would be able to put the charter on that ballot, and that, since they're already going to pay for an election anyway, then that wouldn't be of any extra cost to the county.
All right, so it sounds like the Employers Council's way off base on this costing the county money.
Well, again, they're correct that if the Charter Commission does, for whatever reason, choose to turn the charter in, earlier, then the commission could force the county.
Yeah, but that's a one-time expense for an election. There's no expense for the Charter Commission.
Right,
to
and
operate.
I honestly I can't imagine the Charter Commission making that decision. I don't know why they would. I'm just trying to educate the public as to the process and why the Employers Council made that statement. But again,
Well, we'll try to get them on air next time we have another
yeah,
show.
I'm looking forward to having
See
more
who else,
conversations with them.
I've heard, there was an editorial, I guess, and I didn't read it, in the Press Democrat
Ukiah Daily
and
Journal.
the Ukiah,
No.
or the Ukiah Daily Journal.
I'm not sure about the Press Democrat. I don't
And
know.
what was their concern? What was the problem with that?
Well, again, in that article, I'm afraid that there was some confusion as to some of the issues that may have been important to a few or one or two of the individual charter commissioners. And so they came out against issues that may or may not wind up in the charter. So we're just trying to educate the electorate as to this process. Stage one is just, do you like the idea of strengthening our county's decision-making process by creating this home rule charter? It's not about issues that may or may not end up being in the charter. That's phase two. So I'll be happy to debate the issues that are in the charter after the charter is written and during that campaign, which will probably happen before the November election 2017. So that's over a year away before we're talking about issues. Let's talk about, do you want to strengthen our county's negotiating position with other state and corporate actors by creating a county charter? That's
what
the
other
question.
counties in the state are charter counties? I mean, we're not the first to do this or try to do this.
There's 14 other counties: San Francisco, Sacramento, Tehama, Alameda, and there's some other ones too. I can't remember the name. I guess I have a list over there. I can read them.
Yeah, and you can go on MendocinoCountyCharter.org and find all that information.
Okay.
The 14 counties that are already chartered.
And they all have different charters, pretty
Yes.
much?
Yes, very different. They vary. Alameda, for instance, in their charter, they wanted more mandates for recycling. I mean, you can have.
So
any-
that was
That's what-
important to them.
That was important to them.
So that's the kind of, you're talking a lot of different ingredients in the potential charter itself. Is
Sam-
there anything that's off the table? Can the charter include anything?
Well, within the parameters, but again, whatever is put in there, it's always a proposal. And the voters have to approve it, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I can say the California Constitution specifically states that charter counties have to include at least 5 supervisors. So in the county governing body, there have to be at least 5 people.
Okay, so we already fit that model.
There could be more. We'll have to. That's something that's on the table. I
So
don't know that
the
we're-
charter commission could look at how the county is organized and say, well, we need 10 supervisors instead of 5.
Sure.
And then the people would get a chance to vote on it.
Exactly. And then the Constitution also specifically states that the county sheriff, the county DA, and the county recorder have to be elected by the people. We can't make those appointed by the Board of Supervisors.
Which is the case now. The sheriff.
Exactly,
they're all elected. So
exactly.
that doesn't change.
Right.
That's off the table.
So that's off the table. But basically, I think everything else, other than the fact that we have to conform to the basic rights and the rest of the California Constitution, we can't be in direct contravention to what's already in the California Constitution. We're still
So when
obligated.
if this commission is elected and formulates a proposed charter, before we get to vote on it, is that charter vetted by the state?
The Secretary of State has to file the charter. And I actually believe that happens after the people vote on it. Once the people vote on the charter, it's been approved, then we give it to the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State has to file the charter. Now, if they decide not to file it, that would be an interesting legal question to whether or not they're in a position to be able to do that or not.
Okay, so there's some uncharted territories that we might get into here.
And it could be, I mean, they will review it and they will compare it to what's in the California Constitution. So sure, if they came back and said, well, this is unconstitutional, then yeah, we'd have to have that conversation at that time. But I can pretty much say that the people who are running for charter commissioner, or at least I can speak for myself, I mean, I'm not looking to pick a fight with the state by having something radical outside of the bounds of what's already in the California Constitution. We're just trying to create a document that helps Mendocino County, working within the parameters of the California Constitution, to have a customized government that works better for us here.
So let's get personal again with you, Doug. Why should people vote for you? Who are you? Why should we trust you to
Well,
formulate
yeah, I mean,
help formulate a charter for us?
That's a great question. I mean, I always fall back on the story about being the host of Open Lines on KZYX for so many years and talking politics with thousands of people that called in over that time period, and just hearing the frustration in their voices when they're talking about trying to orchestrate political change. I mean, whatever their particular issue was. The frustration over and over and over again with, well, what do I do? Write my congressman in Sacramento.
Yeah, sign another petition.
I mean, I think the government, Congress's approval rating for the last decade in Washington, D.C. has been like 10%, 11%. So I get calls on Open Lines being like, what do we do? I don't approve of what Congress is doing. And over the years, my only response was finally, the only thing you can do is help your neighbor, work in your community. We can make local change. And with local politics, you can call your board of supervisor, your supervisor. You can get to know them. They can't get away with taking $50,000 in corporate money or from an individual, from a very wealthy individual, to slip that line item into that ordinance, because we know what's going on. We can see them. We know them.
Yeah, the scrutiny is pretty intense around here.
And so at that time it became, my desire to strengthen our local communities to empower themselves as much as possible. Then I got involved with Measure S. We had some community rights language in Measure S,
That was
which
the anti-fracking?
helped to do that. Yeah, exactly. And then that, again, is what led me into this charter movement. I mean, let's strengthen our local democracy, because in that way we can actually influence our political lives in a way that is very difficult to do with the guys in Sacramento. I mean, if you can't afford a lobbyist,
Yeah.
then how do you influence Sacramento? And then, of course, Washington, D.C. is on the other side of the country. How do you even start to try to affect political change with those guys? I mean, this takes a full-time job and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and most of us have to work. So,
So the Charter Commission is a way to deal with this political frustration.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the impetus behind my involvement. Wanting to be able to provide a vehicle for people to make political change in our community, to strengthen that political change against, what the state or the feds or other chartered corporations can do. Let's put ourselves on an equal footing when we negotiate with those guys, and let's empower ourselves to be able to make our own choices, and empower ourselves with the ability to make those choices stick.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned as an example of one of the charter commissions decided that recycling was very important. Give me some other examples of other charter counties. What's important in different places?
Some of the other counties, I think it was Tehama County that was saying that they wanted to protect their water.
Protect the water? That's
Protect
pretty
the water.
admirable.
And,
It's like, wait a minute, doesn't the state already do that for us?
Well,
not necessarily, yeah.
Not necessarily. That's where home rule comes in. They wanted to protect their water. From,
Well, yeah, it's
from
a
being
huge issue
exported.
here. I just read a report from Moms Across America. They were funded by somebody who lives here to test 10 local wines from Mendocino, Napa, Lake County. They all had residue of Roundup in the wines, organic wines included. Less residue, but still some residue. And I thought, whoa, nobody's ever tested the water or the wine or the beer in America until just the last year. Whereas in Europe, they've tested for these chemicals for years, and they've banned things like Roundup. So does a charter county give us the ability to fight against these huge corporate interests and state bureaucracies that are pretty much looking the other way when we're being poisoned? Are we going to have some help by being a charter county in fighting these forces?
It's a possibility, along with the glyphosates, or Roundup, as it's commonly called, are prevalent in many, many sources.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
In fact, it's even GMO crops like wheat are often sprayed with glyphosates to increase their drying time. And
Yeah,
so
they spray them right before harvest.
They spray them right before harvest so they can dry faster. So people, a lot of these things that are happening, that we have an increase of asthma, we have an increase of lots of different illnesses that weren't really prevalent before 1997, before they started using it. But in terms of a charter, can home rule protect against some of those things, or at least make some statements about it? And the answer is yes. But again, whatever goes into a charter must be approved by the voters.
So the voters could say, for instance, in Mendocino County, any product that is made in Mendocino County has to be tested to see how pure or impure it is. We could say that?
As long as it does not conflict with a state law.
Well, we're just talking about testing and transparency.
As long as there's no state law against it.
I don't know of any.
I don't know of any either, but I'm just saying along those lines.
The state won't allow Mendocino County to control the use of herbicides, but there's nothing that says we can't demand that the people that use the herbicides test their product before they sell it to us to see if it has residues in it.
Or even labeling it. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
possibility.
label
too.
it. Drink up Roundup.
Drink up Roundup. But yes, the charter can include language like that.
Okay, so the
So
charter's got
there's a lot of flexibility. It's like an open box. You can put anything you want into it, but it has to be approved by the voters.
So yeah, the Charter Commission could say, yeah, we want to do this, and do this, and the people could say, well, that's all fine and dandy, but we don't buy it, and they could vote it down.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd like to be very clear again that because we can talk about the potentials of what might go into the charter in stage 2. So when we're just talking about the concept of would you like to be a chartered county, then let's go back to choices that the people of Mendocino have already made. The anti-GMO Measure H, the anti-fracking Measure S. These are choices that the people of Mendocino County have already made, and fortunately, the county hasn't been sued over either of them. But in the case of a lawsuit, if Monsanto came in here and said, we want to grow, a GMO product in your county, and we don't think that you have the right to tell us that we can't, so we're going to sue you over Measure H. If we got sued over Measure H right now as a general law county, we would have a very weak defense in court, especially if people in Sacramento suddenly decided they wanted to pass a law saying, Monsanto could come and grow GMOs here. If we change into a charter county, a home rule county, then we have a very strong argument in court saying we are our own legal individual that has the right to make choices for ourselves. In fact, all of the news that we've heard about corporate rights that a lot of people in Mendocino County have been frustrated about, my gosh, these corporations have all these rights. Well, if Mendocino is chartered, then the county of Mendocino gets those same rights. So when corporations come in here and says, oh, the Supreme Court gave us all of these corporate rights, we can show them our charter and say, well, guess what? We have those rights too. As a general law county, sorry, we don't have that argument in court. What these are called, this is called tort law. It's a tort is a financial claim or a claim of restitution when things go to court, and what being a charter county does is strengthen our negotiating positions in terms of giving us these rights to these tort claims. That corporations now have these rights. So if we want to be able to negotiate with them as a legal equal, we need to shift from being a general law county, which makes us a subsidiary of the state of California, to a charter county, which, just like the California Constitution or any corporate charter, creates a legal individual that has that equal negotiating power with other chartered organizations.
I want to get back to the election a little bit. The charter commissioners are elected, and they win if they don't have to get 50% of the vote. They just the 15 that get the most votes are elected.
Right.
So there's going to be a charter commission.
That's the vote. That has to get 50% over.
So the people get to vote on two things this election: whether there should be a charter commission, yes or no. If 51% of the people vote yes, then 15 of the people that are running as commissioners will be elected.
Right.
Based on who gets the most votes.
Right.
Then my second question, this is again to stage 2 a little bit, but it has to do also with how the Charter Commission, if it has any funding. Say, can the Charter Commission propose that there be new taxes in the new charter? And if so, does that require a bigger vote to pass the charter, like 2/3 instead of 50%?
I don't know.
That's an interesting question, and I would assume that it would, just like any other specific tax requires 2/3 of the vote. My guess would be that the Charter Commission will avoid that.
I suspect.
And then that would be something that would have to be negotiated by the commission with input from the county council to figure something like that out should we decide to enter into that realm. But I am not...
but it's
I
not
don't
off the table.
foresee
It's
that.
just like, again, it's a big empty box that you can fill with pretty much.
Right. And that would be a unique situation. I don't think any of the other 14 charters have specific taxes in them like that. So it would take a little bit of studying up to figure it out. But I don't foresee that as being an issue. No one has advocated for any kind of a taxation scheme being a part of the charter.
And tell me a little bit about what's coming up in terms of your organization for people to find out more about the commission and the people that are running for the commission and the whole charter concept. You have like a series of town halls planned. Well, how can people find out more information? Where can they go on the web? Who can I talk to? What meetings?
Well, actually, there's a meeting today at the Senior Center, Redwood
right.
Coast Senior Center, from 3 to 5. People can come there. It's on 490 Harold Street. And that's one way. And also there's a website, MendocinoCharter.org.
MendocinoCountyCharter.org.
MendocinoCounty.org, so people can go there. And there's a Facebook page. They can go to the project Mendocino County Charter.org.
And are there other
on
meetings
Facebook.
coming up besides the one here in Fort Bragg today? You got some more town halls?
There's one tomorrow in Willits.
Willits tomorrow?
I think that one starts at 3, from 3 to 5. I think it's at the Grange in Willits. I'm not exactly sure, but you can check it out on either the
Right,
Facebook
so the
page,
Facebook page.
Charter Project of Mendocino
Charter
County
Project
Facebook
Mendocino,
page,
right.
or MendocinoCountyCharter.org on the web. All that information is up there, and then we have,
Right.
I believe, one more on the 23rd. But Paul Cienfuegos is our keynote speaker both today and tomorrow.
All right.
So if you want to catch him, then try to make it to one of those two.
And since the other candidates aren't here, can you just give me a little synopsis of who's running, or some of them? Just talk about some of the other candidates.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I'm pretty happy that the people who chose, a lot of the people who chose have already had a lot of experience in local politics. We've got Norman Duvall, who was a county supervisor for many years. We've got Els Cooperrider, who was very active in the environmental movement in the 90s. She helped work on Measure H and is actually currently working on Measure V.
Right.
So she's got a lot of experience. We've got Steve Scalmanini, who is the current mayor of Ukiah. He's been on the city council there for the last 3 years. So those are three of the people that we've got that are currently running. A lot of us grew out of some of the Occupy movement. There are quite 3 or 4 people that kind of started with that back in 2008, 2009, and then started feeling like local was the way to go, and that the county charter would be a good idea. And some of the public bank advocates that started and are running, they started with the going local on the banks. What was that, the day where everybody took their money out of the big five and put it in, and they actually got
Yeah, the
millions
credit
and
unions
millions
did really
of dollars.
well.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
we've
they
got a few
funded that
people.
campaign.
Robin Sunbeam, who ran for county recorder last year. She's been working a lot on the charter project, and she kind of grew out of that big bank divestment movement. So, fortunately, we do have a lot of experience that decided to run for the commission. I'm happy to say that we did, that 17 people did sign up. We want to make sure that it's a full commission, and we're hoping that the people who are elected, really do represent the full spectrum. Like Keith said, it's geographically diverse. Willits, Ukiah, all up and down the coast. So, we're hoping that, for me, the most important thing is that we all can really work together. And I think it's going to take us even a couple of months to formulate how we're going to go through the decision-making process.
You don't really have like a rule book or anything.
Yeah.
It's like you talk about home rule, it starts at home, right?
It's one of the things that makes this campaign challenging is showing people that, well, here in this stage 1 process, it's an open book. Just give this commission a chance. That's all we're asking for. Vote yes on Measure W. And then we'll see what the commission comes up with over a very long process of interaction with, all of the different people in the county.
You're
trying
going to have
get
to
as
win
much
over these
information.
employer councils.
Yeah, I know, and I'm working on it. I think I can I still think I can convince them. I think they
Good luck.
got off track on some of the issues, and when we really solidify our messaging, because there are many issues important to the people at the Employers Council, And those very same issues, could find their way into an initiative.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
we'd be happy as the Charter Commission to speak with them about the issues that are important to them that we could put into the county charter, during that phase 2 process. So I think once they understand the process, then they could get excited about empowering the county, because the county, I assume, occasionally makes choices that the Employers Council does approve of. So
Yeah.
why would they have a problem with empowering those choices?
We'll find out.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, basically, the hope is it's a bipartisan issue. It's for everybody in Mendocino County.
Yeah.
And all of their ideas, council included, everybody's ideas can be at least addressed, included, at least heard. And that's what we need to do, is to hear the ideas that are out there.
Well, it's like, the Charter Commission not only provides an opportunity for input and for everybody to be heard, but it provides for the opportunity to the people to decide in an election.
Exactly.
It's not a supervisor who's deciding. It's not a bureaucrat who's deciding. It's not the Employers Council. It's not your organization. It's everybody gets to vote up or down.
Right.
Right.
One of the things that we're working on is this internet service called wind tunneling, which actually then anyone can access from their phone or their computer over the web, that helps facilitate group discussions.
Uh-huh.
Basically, that's what it's designed to do. So this is something similar to what Iceland did after the 2008 collapse, when they decided to throw their bankers in jail and write a new constitution. They went straight to the people over the internet.
Really?
And got as much information as they could to rewrite their constitution according to the will of the people. So, one of the things we're going to do is try to get people involved online through this wind tunneling program to make the process as participatory and as easy to participate in as possible. I mean, we'd like to have as many face-to-face meetings as possible around the county as well. Face-to-face, obviously superior, but this wind tunneling program has been specifically designed to help facilitate group conversations.
Well, that's great, because this studio, Terry designed this studio so that we can take phone calls and Skype calls.
Right.
We can watch people on the big screen and they call in. I'm going to extend myself a little bit, probably get a little flack from Terry. But this studio would be a great place to have these kind of conferences.
Sure.
I think he said we can have up to 24 Skype calls simultaneously in a conference call, where people from all over the county could be talking about whatever the subject of the day is and figuring this stuff out.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
So these
In
new
fact,
technologies are available. I'm glad that they're going to be used to help us figure some of this stuff out.
One of the things we've been discussing is that the Charter Commission is going to be subject to the Brown Act. So all of our meetings, and we'd like to be able to have conference call meetings, because getting together face to face from all of us all around the county are going to require the availability of the press and the public to be able to be there.
That's another thing about this studio. We have a conference call here. It's all archived.
That sounds like a plan.
It's
yeah.
like there is total transparency.
We'll have to negotiate.
We're not going
with
to
Terry on
volunteer it though. It's only $150 an hour, so
yeah,
it's a real
well,
deal.
we can't. We're not costing the county any money on
We'll
this.
find a
so.
sponsor for it.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
you know what I'm saying? It's like things like this studio and things like these new technologies
Yeah.
on the internet make it possible for democracy to really
Exactly.
work if given the opportunity.
And that paper right there is what we're passing out in terms of handing out at the town hall meetings.
Let your voice be heard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it tells you how to log in, chime in.
Skip, there's another thing that I wanted to make clear, because I've been hearing some opposition, or at least some questions that from people who fear that the Charter Commission is going to be some kind of another layer of bureaucracy, or in some way expanding government. So one thing I'd like to be clear about is the Charter Commission is only formed to write the charter. After the charter is passed, then the Charter Commission is disbanded. And also, it's highly likely that in conjunction with the supervisors and the current county apparatus, that the charter could be used to streamline county government so that it actually eliminates some of the waste,
wonderful.
or some of the old baggage that's back there in the county code. I mean, these are things, again, that the commission is going to have to be looking into during the phase 2. But, some people are leaping to thinking that the commission is some other new layer of bureaucracy that is expanding the size of government.
The commissioners have no power. They're here to listen, basically. Huh?
Yeah, and then it's just about writing the charter. Once their job is done and the people vote on the charter and pass a charter, then it's disbanded completely. So no fear of that. If anything, I would foresee the opposite happening, forming a more streamlined county governmental organization.
And we're getting close to our time here, and I wonder if Keith, you want to chime in with anything else that we haven't covered today?
One thing I'd just like to mention, in the old days, you used to say, think local, act global. But I think now it's think local, act local. And I think that's one of the things we want to do is bring those ideas locally and act upon them. And home rule and more voice to the people locally, I think, is a good idea. And I'd certainly be, supportive of that. And I used to work on Measure H. I've worked on Measure H back then, passing the banning of the GMO agriculture in Mendocino County, and worked a little on Measure S. And so I've had some background in some of the Mendocino politics that were happening back then. But the main thing is I think the charter can really be a step forward to help protect the county, the families, and our future.
Let's leave it at that. That was perfect. Thank you, and thank you. This has been Skip Tawby with Naturally Mendocino. We'll see you next time. Is he awake?
Yes, I'm awake. So just stay there for a minute.
Okay.
No good.
Hold on. Hold on for dear life.
Set of headphones wrapped around my leg. Couldn't do anything while I was tethered to my headphones.
Right.
Show's over. It's broadcast.
Thank you, Terry.
Well, thank you very much.
We have many
Yeah.
things we're going to work on, but it was all around actually excellent. Really
Good.
We're just going to we forgot to put your headphone on and your earplug in.
Well, but what would I be listening to?
You were talking off mic most of the show. Yours is the only one that was horrible. They had great audio.
That little thing picked up them, but this didn't pick up me?
Correct. That's
What?
much more directional. This is.
So
we were
what,
mainly using.
is it like, how do I have to position it then to make it
You
work?
have to have a headphone.
Okay,
Here, wait a minute.
yeah.
Okay, Marianne said it was a great show.
Yeah, really,
Okay,
thank you
good.
guys. I think you
No,
guys.
because
No,
as soon
thank
as
you.
Thank you,
We-
Doug.
your head like that, you're
We really-
talking
I kind of-
off mic. That's why if you
No,
have
it was
the
good to be able to
So I could
explain
just push
ourselves.
the whole thing more
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah, well, we might just do a totally different mic.
But if I have that, then
Because you're doing almost all of your talking that direction. So this needs to be down, like, even down there,
just
but
do
as
it.
long as it's turned like that, so you'll hear the difference. Here, plug that in, and you can see we didn't even turn that on. But
Hello, yes, hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, you're up here. And they see it wasn't.
Hello, hello. Boy, you really got to get right on that.
That's my experience with those kinds of microphones, is to be
Yeah,
pretty
It's like
close.
if they're off 5 degrees. It's like-
Yeah.
Well, they're okay if they're down, but they do have to be. But you can't be talking off axis. And that's
Yeah.
all. But when you have this on,
Then I know.
yeah,
You know.
you would hear your voice
Would
go
it-
dim, and you
if-
would just grab and bring that over.
Would I move the mic or move my
Yeah.
body? Does it
Grab
make
the mic,
noise
that's
when it
why-
moves?
Yeah,
The whole point of it being on a boom is so you can move it.
It's okay. And it's not going to go.
No, but it don't grab right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, it's on what's called a suspension here, so that no motion can transmit to the mic. So anything you grab here is not transmitting because this is all on a suspension.
Got such a A1 studio, Terry.
All kinds of stuff. The
For
basics
sure.
worked really good today. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm sorry
Yeah.
I missed
You did a great
this
job.
Well,
time.
these other guys, 17 candidates, get them in here.
Yeah,
If
I mean,
it-
we'll try.
They
you know,
live
I
all over
forgot
the
to
county.
mention Jim Tarbell, actually.
Yeah, so we
is-
can put a lot of them on the Skype too.
Yeah.
If they need to come in, if they can't come in here, we can bring each one up, one
Yeah.
or two or three.
Right.
You know, because it's not 20, it's actually 12.
Well, let's see if we can work on that, because I'd be happy to come in and do another show. And again, the thing is that after we're actually elected, we are beholden to the Brown Act, so we
Well, that's
can't.
okay, because the Brown Act's been suspended in this state. And everyone who does it is voluntarily. And we did some research, and no one in the history of the world has ever been prosecuted for violating the
Well,
Brown Act.
sure, I know, but we'll
So,
have to decide then as a group how. I mean, I think because
I would suggest you guys decide to not honor the voluntary reenactment of the Brown Act. You have that choice.
Huh?
You have
Okay.
that choice to say, since it's suspended, we're going to leave it suspended because we're too large.
Yeah. Right.
You don't have to go. Everyone's doing this because it's like, oh, we want to be public to the public and still say
Yeah.
Brown Act's a bunch of shit for most people trying to fucking do any deliberation.
Well, I know.
It fucks
And the
everything
15
up.
of us from all over the county, it's very difficult to have, widely publicized open meetings all the time and do nothing. What are we supposed to do? Nothing, as a group of two or
again,
three of us
having
getting
a
together.
place like this, maybe KMAC or something, whatever. Over,
Yeah.
I don't know if I've told you about the
I
whole.
feel like the more meetings we can have at organizations like this and over the radio, and I mean just as much as
Open discussion.
possible to be able to be as transparent as we can, so that people feel like they're really a part of the process.
That's
And I think the
wrong.
first step is
Yeah.
to separate, what can go in it and what's actually on the ballot.
That's you guys did a pretty good job. I'm glad you kept focusing on that.
Gotta hammer that home, because
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
I mean, we've seen this, all this
We've already-
opposition is, well, so-and-so said you wanted a public bank.
So
Well,
this could go up on
yeah,
channel-
but
could
that's
this go
not
on
what you're
channel
voting
3
on right
today?
now.
I mean,
Not today.
Oh, not today, but what we did.
Yeah.
See, that's the other, we can put this on channel 3, so like this.
Yeah, great, and,
We can send it
it's-
over to. Well, there's no one administering the rest of the county, so we can't get it.
Tell us where the link
We're
is, so
the
we
only
can
one.
link to it from our website too.
Okay, well, it'll be on there. I'll send you a MendocinoTV.com link.
Great, perfect.
And at some point, if you wanna take the time to help edit, say, a session like this down to like 30-second
Yeah.
soundbite,
Right,
if we can figure out a way to
Well,
use that.
we're actually talking
Okay.
about him coming in and doing some sound work.
yeah, me and
some
Ally are gonna wanna
commercials.
do we got a radio ad we gotta produce before May 1st.
Uh-huh.
And so that'll
So
be
how do you pay
30
for
seconds.
advertising?
Well, we actually got the bulk of our funding from one event that we did last October, the Vandana Shiva. We had Vandana
Wow.
Shiva agreed to come
Wow.
because home rule is a big part of her anti-GMO work. And God, we must have had 300 people show up to that thing, and it was $20 a ticket or something, and we raised $8,000.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
And
yeah,
we-
by the way, we had, within 2 minutes, we had 12 viewers.
Oh, cool.
So, which is not bad, because it was announced 5 minutes before.
Yeah, yeah.
So, announced
That's
5
all my kids, I told them, you better watch me.
Yeah, I
They
know.
wouldn't have
right?
known. No, these are people who all got messages real quick, and I had put it on the listserv.
Oh,
You
great.
know, so,
Good.
you know,
Oh,
the
good.
listserv is.
Oh,
So
good.
we had 10 continuous viewers. We started with 12, 2 dropped off. One of them might have been me dropping off a monitor.
Yeah.
You know,
So people actually watch this whole thing? Oh my
10
God.
people were watching, 10 unique viewers. Which, for live streaming, if you get to know it, that's not bad, because, as you know, that grows.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
and for zero promotion.
Yeah.
Zero. Nothing. There was nothing told to anyone that you guys were gonna be here.
No, that was cool.
You know, so
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad we can help your
I
stats.
swear, I honestly believe I can convince the Employers Council. We are going to debate with this guy, John Kennedy, who is the guy that's been coming to our meetings. And I just am
Where are
going
you going to
to.
do the debate?
Do you know Tom
It's-
Horner?
Yeah.
Talk to Tom Horner. He's a director of the bank, savings bank. I would be interested
Oh,
what his
the
position
one
is.
from-
Oh, yeah.
Harvest Market.
Harvest Market.
I don't know what his position is on this, but it'd be interesting to find
Well,
out.
let us
Isn't
gather
he on the-
signatures, or-
Isn't he on the board?
Most of the local banks, I know there was a time period when a few of the banker people went around to the local bankers and said, "What do you think about this idea?" And they loved it. They have no reason because
Community
the
banks.
county bank, the idea behind a county public bank is not to compete with the local bank.
To support
It doesn't.
community
It does.
and
It takes
credit
the.
unions.
it takes the county funds. It doesn't take individual funds. It takes the county's funds and puts it in the bank and then uses that money to provide liquidity to the local banks.
Why are they saying that that's illegal?
Yeah, I don't know. We're talking about doing exactly what the Public Bank of North Dakota does.
Yeah.
It hasn't been done it hasn't been done by another county, but like Keith said, right now, like 50 counties are looking at 50 counties and states. I mean, it's a new movement. If Mendocino County were to do it, it would be huge. I personally think that it's like, I hate it when I talk about it because sometimes I talk it up so big that people can't believe that what I'm saying is true, but I think it has the potential possibility of, flooding hundreds of millions of dollars into our local economy. I think we could use it to fund large public infrastructure projects that would be built by local businesses, so all the money would stay in county.
Centralized bud trimming facility.
Absolutely.
Potentially.
I mean, it's sort of like the infrastructure that allows for sustainability.
I talk
I don't know
about
if we can use
Noyo
that as
Harbor
Yeah.
so that we
Is
could
that
start
what
getting
we
some
can?
serious
But
trade
they would
going in and out of
support
Noyo Harbor and
Right.
potentially a rail system around the county so goods and people can go around the county on the rail system, but also goods that could come in from Noyo Harbor and then be shipped around the county.
I'd love to be able to pull up on a ferry boat and go to San Francisco on a ferry. Like,
Well,
remember when they brought the
thing.
Mendocino ferry up here?
Did they have one?
They
That's
named it
great.
Mendocino, the one that goes, from Tiburon there.
Oh, wow.
When they inaugurated it, they
See?
brought it up here and into Noyo Harbor. It
That
fucking
is,
filled up
see,
that
that's
harbor,
a
man.
total possibility. See, things like this because the public bank can really be financing that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And not only that, but what it does is it provides liquidity to the local banks, so then they're giving more loans out to small business. Like these employer council guys, it's like, why are you against this?
That's what I'm saying. You got to talk to some of their peers, like Tom Honer, who might be.
Get a couple
Yeah.
of them that we can bring
Why
into
are
that
you against
part
this?
of
This is
the-
all about promoting small business in Mendocino County. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's,
Have you ever guys bumped into
libertarian.
Jared Carter, the notorious attorney in Ukiah?
Uh-uh.
He might be an unlikely ally.
Yeah,
He's a force to be reckoned with.
yeah.
He represents very right-wing institutions that fund lawsuits to bring shit back into
We've
some
had the funniest
right-wing order.
the funniest responses from the right that are trying to hate our guts. And it's like, there is no reason why a conservative should have a problem with any
Ask
of
your group
this.
if any of them know Jared Carter.
Yeah,
He doesn't
alright.
travel in our circles, but I would love to do an interview with him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
very
Sounds
Did you have
great.
any recommendations
Powerful.
for us as being presenters, or any thoughts
No,
one way or
well,
another?
well, other than you guys were great until we went live, and then you got a little stilted, you got a little went double in volume. Absolutely had to completely put the slider halfway down. Your energy level went through the roof. You're normal.
I can feel my whole heartbeat
Yeah.
just
You
goes
were
up.
fine.
I
You
get
just
excited.
went like, whoa, I'm peaking and driving the whole thing down. It was just distorting beyond audible.
Just from this little guy here.
No, from
That
that, because
was
at that
from
time you
your
were
mic.
into that. That
Oh.
was right in front of you, and you were just went, well, again, blew out everything. So that's part of sound check. 'Cause
Yeah.
I need to know how loud you're going to get, not just that there's continuity.
Yeah.
In sound check, you have to get in that energy so I can know and limit it. Because I don't have limiters or compressors. And I'm going to have to put them on, I can see. Because that was...
Well, I should have had my earbuds because we were trying to get all the systems, and that was part of it.
Yeah,
We
you
should have
gotta
done
have
That
that.
was last minute, and that's why it's really important that we don't discuss what your show is about before the show, because your mind is on the show, not on technology, which we have to be on technology and getting the show and all the prep done so that you're not talking, because your mind's not on your open. You blew the open completely.
Yeah, I was a little
You know,
flaky.
Mendocino naturally, you got the names of everything backwards.
I'm gonna type it up next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Just so we can practice with the
That's what I wanna,
teleprompter.
But
Yeah,
even if it's written,
intros or-
you can read your open and you just put a couple of notes, sound points. It'll
Yeah.
help you. But yeah, we could do that. But that's
That's
okay.
what I
Just shake
usually
down.
do.
Thank you for helping us work out the kinks, guys.
Thank you.
We have to
all
have
good.
those things, those mistakes to get over them. It's
Yeah.
like you can't not have them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
That's
that's
why.
Better to do it with 5 minutes notice than
yeah.
you know, a campaign like here we
Yeah,
are.
right.
Oh, first time we're doing it.
Yeah,
great.
you know,
We're
and
trying to
I
work
I
up to
was more
something.
worrying about how
Measure
to get
V.
Agnes
Measure
in-
V is a big
in
one.
frame than worrying about then. And again, I forgot about your monitor, which yeah, you need to be on the monitor because then if you had been on the monitor, you would have gone
Yeah,
put your mic in front of you.
yeah.
Because I was actually bringing this up so I could hear you.
Oh, you had this one on too.
Yeah, I was bringing up everything so I could get that, because this was just all echoey, like you were 5 feet, well, effectively, you were about 3 feet away from it, because you turned your whole body in that. So there's a whole body spatial thing that you'll learn as a host you have to be aware of.
Well, I'll have to
Where
watch
you-
this when I go home
Where
and
you sit, how you
critique
get
myself.
So I was better before it went live.
What's that?
I was better before I went live.
Yeah, you immediately went into stump speech.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
I
then
try
you
to
relax.
think of it as like a casual. I mean,
So
you know,
no, you were
actually-
okay, but you went, immediately went from natural to
Unnatural.
trying to
when
remember your
I'm
speech.
doing these
Mendocino
kinds of
unnatural.
things, I think about it as much of a natural conversation as I can and be as like laid back about it, except for what Terry's talking about, like have an awareness about the technology interaction so that you're making sure that, you know, things are coming across clear through the recording.
It's like a
But
lot of
other than that, being as casual as you can is good. But then you can't be casual about your interaction with the technology. That's where you have to be in the back of your mind, always thinking, you know, okay, no,
If that doesn't
I
work,
need to
everything
be-
else useless.
That's
useless.
just
You
it.
see a lot of
know, so you
hosts
keep
like
your
us-
production value
yeah.
high by focusing and thinking about that. But that's in the back of your mind. In the front of your mind is being laid back, casual, conversational.
Yeah, not trying to be anything other than who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and all that. And yeah, like what I found is those chairs are probably the worst for the host. Because when you have a straight back chair, you don't move your body away from the mic in all different
Right.
positions. You're in a place, and so we might go to that.
All right, I'll see you over at the senior center.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
I have to give my little presentation.
Oh, are you doing an early thing?
Yeah, well, no, I'm gonna, we're gonna be there at 2 o'clock, and then I'm gonna be giving it, I'm not sure how, I'll have to figure out how we're gonna transition from each person to each thing. I'm not,
Well, you know, I can MC. I've been MCing most of these.
okay.
So
Should
if
we
you want
bring
me
it
to
to
do that,
Julia?
then I'll
Yeah,
just do
why
that.
don't you? I mean, in other words,
Yeah.
Should we shoot
you'll
the-
introduce,
the
after
thing?
I'm done, because it'll be
We get Paul
Paul.
Cienfuegos.
But I'd almost like to
Yeah.
have a point where we introduce anybody who might be in the audience, who might be in
The
on
charter
the charter.
commission.
Because I was gonna add that to mine, but if you're gonna be the MC, maybe you could say, oh,
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
could anybody,
I think
stand up, 'cause
normally
mine-
we've had Robin do the PowerPoint, and then like you'll talk, and then Agnes will talk. And
yeah, I think
then,
Agnes is going first.
Okay,
or
and
whatever.
then Paul will talk.
Right,
What we
third.
did yesterday was Paul would talk, then we gave any other charter commissioners like 30 seconds,
Okay,
and then we
All
had a
right.
Q&A. So then we had a back and forth conversation
so
after that.
my
with
thought was the
questions.
PowerPoint first, Agnes would go
Okay.
first, and then I would go after her, and then it would be Paul, but
Yeah.
how to transition in between, what kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I can do that because I've been
Oh,
doing that.
oh yeah, I mean, you're great.